I have a lineup of 6 sculptors. So for a number of years, I've been creating sculptures here. So sort of what I like to do is create mathematical sculptures and do what I call a barn raising, where I get lots of people to help me build it. And I had done this quite a few times here over the last more than 10 years. Tom Rogers really liked that and supported it. I'm very happy to be able to sort of continue his spirit in these events. And the last few years, he asked me to organize other people who can similarly create sculpture barn raising. So those of you who've been here in the past, you've done a number of these. And what I have for today is 6 different people, including me, who will each do some sort of event. So each of the 6 will come up for a few minutes. Some have a bunch of slides, some just have 1 or 2 slides, or not even a slide, a 3D model to show you. Meanwhile, I'll tell you who they are. Rinus Roelofs is going to do a sculpture which is kind of a uniform polyhedron out of metal parts and stuff, but he'll show you some pictures of that. Paul Hildebrandt and the Zoom Tool group are going to make a giant Zoom Tool construction. The Zoom Tool construction will be some kind of cool thing. They'll show you a model of that. Chaim Goodman Strauss and Eugene Sargent have a hyperbolic surface made out of metal that you'll be putting together. And again, there's pictures of that that'll explain all this. Jarn Jespersen has a wooden model that has laser-cut wooden pieces that slide together. Andrea Hawksley has a sculpture that you're going to make made out of hair bands, rubber bands. That'll be kind of a cool thing. And then I have something that I'll show you, which is actually made of plastic pieces for hanging up pipes. I've tried to design something very simple and quick. I didn't have time to make a giant laser-cut metal thing this year, so I decided to find out what's something we can do as inexpensively as possible. And we're online. Oh, okay. This is very hopeful. So we're going to be quick as possible so you guys can get to the bus. So the main point of my introductions here is so that you'll know what's going on. You'll see a little bit of each, figure out what you're interested in, and look for them. We'll be scattered out different places on the house this afternoon. And to look at what the faces look like of the people so that when you see the one that you want to do, you'll be able to find us out there, because as I said, we'll be scattered around.
We are all familiar with these objects, the platonic solids. Objects made with one type of face only, each, and the configuration in each vertex is equal. It took many centuries before some new ideas were added to this basic concept. Kepler-Poinsot added self-intersection of the faces as well as the complete solids. And only in the 20th century, Coxeter added the idea of infinity to this concept. Well, I brought those 2 things together, self-intersecting and infinity, and I came up with this helical rods. They are all made with only equilateral triangles, and as you can see, in all the vertices, 6 of them come together, and all vertices are the same. You can recognize the 5-pointed star at the front, and in fact, you can start with any star to create such a self-intersecting helical rod. Here, more point star, and the variety of these objects is very big, and I was astonished by that. And what we are going to do this afternoon is create an object like this. So it's only the edges of the polyhedron. Well, for this year, I had a special bag made for the sculpture. The complete sculpture is in here. At the end, it will be 2.5 meters. When I came here, I saw that everyone had such a bag, but I hope this is the right one. To show you just one more, so this is a uniform polyhedron made of only equilateral triangles. The variety is very big, and if you want to see more, come and see me.
You know, the problem with sculptures like this is they're not weightless, and so it's you have to do engineering and stuff. So we thought we'd try to make it lighter than air. And that's it. So please help out. And when we get done, we can work on Heim sculpture. Thanks.
Hello, so my name is I'm Goodman Strauss, and
I'm Eugene
so we'll be presenting a constant negative curvature surface this afternoon. Here's a little screenshot, and we'll discuss this in a moment, but we're all familiar with negative curvature surfaces. You had some for dinner last night, and here's a fairly typical one. Okay, so of course we've seen these at the gathering now and around for some time. This was exhibited here 2 years ago. Well, one of the curious things is that this surface, if it's a if it were the real surface, so to speak, is in violation of Hilbert's embedding theorem, at least insofar as it can't be perfectly smooth. And so that seems to be, if anyone has any insight into what's actually going on with these, I'd certainly be very interested to talk to you. In your gift, yes, I guess we were going to.
This is a little example of how it forces it to warp. And so you're adding in extra turning around the shape, and you get this interesting behavior. And it goes all crazy. This is one of the pentagons that's going to be inside. We have 4 pentagons in the piece. And everything is trying to warp this way.
Right. The configuration space of these things is, so far as I know, completely open as well. So the gift bag item that we have prepared for you.
We have a little one you can experiment with yourself. You cut it out, and I put a little blurb on just little aspects of the negative curvature and hyperbolic plane.
And so the piece that we'll actually be assembling this afternoon, really, this is a paper model. As Eugene said, it's pentagons and squares, which it forces the curvature, but it's actually constant negative curvature in the sense that this was all the angles and lengths and so forth, the relative lengths, were worked out using hyperbolic trigonometry. So this has the precise internal structure of the hyperbolic plane, and in principle could be fleshed out and completed to a smooth surface. And in fact, on the paper model here, you see that we've added some lines. In fact, these would be the mirror lines in the triangle group, the star 542 triangle group. But the weird thing is, so you can imagine filling in this mesh completely and making a smooth surface, but this is actually just too large to satisfy the Hilbert embedding theorem. So again, we don't know. But we rendered this faithfully in steel. This is what it is before it's been powder coated, and
so the first step was to water jet cut out the pieces out of 11 gauge steel. It's 52 pieces composed of the nodes and T's and L's, and the flat steel, of course, is not going to do it, so we had to bend it. We made a bending machine, and we bent our way around to bring the pieces together.
And you'll see they're pretty weird.
They're weird, and it's not just a bend, it's a twist. And you can see the fact that each piece is negatively curved. And
there's another shot. And there it is all laid out in
the powder coat, safety blue and safety yellow.
Right. You'll have to learn this. Please memorize this immediately. You'll find that very helpful. I think we will have some handouts. I hope that we remember to bring them this year. But
Since, it's handmade, so the pieces are unique. They only go in one place. And
right.
So this code will help us hopefully put it together pretty smoothly.
I'm actually quite pleased with it because the code is designed specifically so that it works upside down and right side up. There's no ambiguity what symbol it is. The symbols themselves can be rotated, obviously, but on the other hand, you can't turn them 90 degrees. That's where the ambiguity is. So it's absolutely unambiguous which symbol is which, as long as you know which way is vertical. And I guess finally, I'd just like to thank Tom Rogers. Commissioned us to do. This is our 4th piece for the gathering. Of course, Tom is no longer with us, but we're very grateful to him and to the gathering and to George for organizing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm the magic wood carver. My name is Bjarne, and I come from Denmark. Around 1970, I carved this, is it on here? Yes. I carved this little object, which is two identical pieces carved from one piece of wood. And I've often wanted to make it into a large sculpture. If you go to my website, you can see I have a suggestion there. It's just a mock-up, and I call it Letter to Escher. That's because it's actually inspired by one of Escher's prints, and on my website I've described how I was inspired and how it turned out. Last Gathering for Gardener was my first, and Tom called me on the phone a few days before and asked if I had a sculpture I could submit. And I thought of this one, but I didn't have the time, so I thought that this time I would try. I started out too late, so I wasn't sure I was going to make it, and therefore I didn't tell anybody about it until a few days ago. And I talked to George, or we communicated, I mailed to George and said I had this sculpture and I was going to bring it. And I sent him a couple of photos. They're probably here.
Put it on the camera.
What?
Can you put it on the camera? Put it on the camera.
Yeah. George knew my sculpture, and I said it was a kit we were going to assemble, and of course George would think it was a puzzle. So he just 2 days later he sent me a picture of this, and I said, no, that's not how we are going to do it. But can I show the pictures you got, George? It's a laser cut plywood. That's what it's going to look like. Thank you.
I'm Andrea. I'm doing the most impromptu sculpture because I found out I was doing it, decided last night. So we're going to be making a structure out of hair ties, hair bands. If anyone's unfamiliar with them, they look kind of like this. They come in a bunch of colors. These are black. We're going to have green ones and purple ones as well. And the plan, and here I have something which I can sort of stretch out, is to make something. This would be sort of tetrahedral. You can see it has 4 corners that are not stretched out evenly, so it doesn't look tetrahedral. Is to make a green tetrahedral thing like this, surround it with a purple cube-like thing, and then surround that with a green octahedron. And somewhat accidentally, the green and purple cube and octahedron, or the green and purple are the colors of the octahedral group, which is a Bay Area SF-based math art group that we've been starting. And we're making an octahedron and a cube. So it should be fun. The things are made out of units that lots of people can help with, so lots of people can make little units, and then we'll join them together at the end. And this kind of structure has a really nice boinginess to it once it's been stretched out. So we're going to stretch it out between some trees, and you probably can't see it so well, but there's certainly some level of play that you can have once the sculpture is built.
Thank you. Andrea came in at the last minute for you. You may not know that getting sculptors to do things, or artists in general, is not like that easy. They're not all that organized, it turns out. So we had some last minute cancellations. So thank you very much for everyone. And you should take that spirit in terms of everything that's happening today, that this is really like research. We're sort of debugging how to make these things, and we're gonna need all your problem-solving skills. So to keep me from running over, I made my presentation into a video, which, okay, so now I can only talk for 4.5 minutes or whatever. Okay, so I've done activities here for a while. It's coming. Okay, and this year, as I said, I didn't have time to do something really big, so I thought I would try and do something as inexpensive as possible. And so we're going to make a kind of a sculpture, which is sort of a workshop activity. There's a couple of pictures here of things I've done in the past that take a lot of planning out of laser cut steel or laser cut aluminum. You'll recognize some of you. And these sculptures are on the ground. You should, when you're at the house today, you should look at some of the things that are there from past years permanently installed. In early years, I just things out of wood. So for this year, how to make something really inexpensive, I thought of using pipe strapping. This is just galvanized steel. You can make cool things with it. It has holes, so it's like geometry ready to go for you to shape it. Problem with working with it is that when you cut it, it has sharp edges. So then I discovered that now they make plastic pipe strapping, which is what this is. You can cut this with scissors. You can put it together with nuts and bolts to make shapes. And it's fairly cheap, so I was trying to think of something that people could do like in a school workshop or whatever that uses not much materials. And it's really good at making circles. It's kind of flexible, boingy, if that was Andrea's word. So I thought of what's the family of circle crystals? So imagine I can put circles together edge to edge, and I want to make this sort of regular in some sort of natural definition. So here's a picture of a regular structure where around each circle you have the same number of circles, say 3, and they're all at the same angle, and that's kind of a regularity condition, and you can adjust that angle. So here we see as the angle varies from 0 up to 90 degrees. That would be sort of a local description, and then the question is what happens if you do that infinitely? So if the angle is 0 with 3 neighbors, you can get a planar structure. With 6 neighbors, you can get this kind of hexagon structure. With 4 neighbors, you can get a square structure. They're sort of degenerate two-dimensional cases, not particularly interesting. With 2 neighbors each at the same angle, you can vary the twist, and you get this sort of family of one-dimensional structures. Again, not interesting. I want to know, as a sculptor, what are the 3-dimensional structures? So take 3 neighbors around each circle and adjust the angle. And for most angles, you just get a mess. If you carry this out to infinity, it just sort of densely fills space, and it doesn't make a nice structure. But there's one magic angle, the tetrahedral angle, 70.5 degrees, at which you get this beautiful lattice. It just fills space in this beautiful way with circles. You can look at it from different directions. And it's so gorgeous that we're not going to make it. But it's based on this thing called the 10-3-A lattice. Conway's name for it is the Tryman lattice. It's a beautiful structure. Each vertex has 3 neighbors. They're 120 degrees apart in the plane, so you can put a circle around each vertex. We're going to make one. This is the only other one I found. And I'm curious, this is sort of an open problem. Or have I just shown you all the possible regular circle structures? We're going to make one with 4 neighbors. Again, there's one magic angle, 90 degrees, at which if you twist them, you suddenly get this beautiful lattice. And you can look at it from all different directions. And there's these tunnels, and it's sort of based on a cubic structure. And it's just each circle is going to have 4 neighbors equally spaced at 90 degrees. And you get this beautiful thing. A nice way to understand it is you can derive it from what's called the P surface. It's one of the Schwartz minimal surfaces. So this is a triply periodic surface in space, sort of like a possible solution to an infinite soap bubble. And if you sort of cut away parts of that surface, you'll find that the underlying structure is a family of circles. So you could imagine taking this family of circles that we're going to build today, dipping it in a big piece of soap, and then it'll create this beautiful minimal surface. I wanted to do that. I couldn't. The thing we're going to make today is a meter across. I 3D printed a small version. So designed a file that has enough volume around each edge so it holds together. Great thing about having a 3D printer at home is that you can think of these stuff and hit print, and then an hour later the machine goes brrr, and you've got it. You can hold this thing in your hand. So this is the model of what we're going to make. After building this, I decided we shouldn't make a cubic section of this. We should make kind of a spherical section. It'll be more like a ball. But the thing to notice, both in this little model and in the big thing that you'll see at the house, are these wonderful tunnels. As you look at it from different directions, you'll see these different patterns, which is part of the sort of aesthetic experience of what we're going to do. One reason for making this small version is that this one I can dip in soap. So I can create the minimal surface by spanning across the hexagons, kind of a bubble surface. So when you dip this in, you have to manually pop the circles and leaving just the hexagons, and you have a nice approximation to the P surface, this minimal surface. So in summary, this is what we're going to make. It's 1 meter across. There's 192 circles. I've sort of cut away the corners so that the envelope is a sphere, and it should be bouncy. And not only do I want you to help me build it, but I want you to help me figure out what to do with it. So invent some sort of soccer-like game that you get points according to which tunnel direction, and special points for the 1-1-1 axis or whatever. Those are blueprints of the slices, and that's it. So come look for everyone here, and let's have a big hand for all the sculptors. Thank you.